What is a question? And when a question is asked, do we necessarily get the right answers from other people, our environments, our experiences? From the very world, and perhaps most importantly, the answers that lie from within. Join Mr. Joe Burgess, a thinker, a philosopher, a seeker of sorts, and perhaps the bearer of such known truths, as he journeys and cross-examines the many ideologies, theories, and many popular philosophies of which require that right question to being asked, and sometimes the very question of which require the need to being asked, despite the fact of its difficulty and the fear in doing so. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Mr. Joe Burgess, the host of this critically acclaimed radio podcast talk show, The Myth of Perception.
Hi, welcome back this week to The Myth of Perception. This is Joe Burgess, author of The Myth of Perception, available on Kindle. Today's guest began her path at an early age for her own wisdom. But shortly after, she felt guided to write her own book, Things from God. Now, welcome with me, my guest, Courtney Amundson. Courtney?
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate your time and your effort for this.
Oh, I'm so excited, and I can feel this is going to be an awesome conversation.
Cool. Wonderful. So, do you want to, we might just as well get into it. I mean, I don't really want to waste a whole lot of people's time, and so let's hear a little bit about what your book's about. Yeah,
sure. Well, this has been kind of a huge journey for me, and it's almost hard to really capture the essence of it in words. It's one of those kind of experiences that you struggle to find the right words, but you do your best.
Right.
And it really opened for me at the age of 16. Mm-hmm. And I had been really interested about 2 weeks prior to this date, March 12th, 2012.
Oh, wow.
I remember the date.
Wow, that's pretty impressive that you remember.
Yeah, it was a big day for me. But I remember 2 weeks before this date, I had been very interested in past life regression and learning about children's past lives. I had this book. My mom had this book called Children's Past Lives, and I was reading some of those. And, I don't really know what sparked this intense fascination right away, but I had already been interested in meditation and studying Qigong and listening to various spiritual teachers such as Esther Hicks. Mm-hmm. She was a big one for me, and I learned about the law of attraction. I watched The Secret for the first time and Conversations with God for the first time when I was 9. So these things were already, I was questioning things that I wasn't getting answers to through school, and it frustrated me. And so I think in that earlier part of my life, it really let that grow. And as I got older, the questions became more intense, and I got more frustrated. And so I ended up moving to online school to give me more time to really, give energy to my passions. And so I wanted to spend more time in meditation. I wanted to learn more about meditation and yoga and Qigong. And so then, to me, out of nowhere, I just got very interested in learning about past lives, and I thought, okay, this, you can't deny these stories. They're so real, and it reminded me of some memories or some, I guess, I had some sort of memories when I was younger, but I forgot. over time. So this, kind of brought those back up to the surface. And so then on March 12th, 2012, I had a spiritual awakening. And, I don't think all spiritual awakenings are like, bam, it happens right then and there. But for me, it kind of felt like that because I had no idea what was about to happen. So I was taking a meditation break during my day, as I often did, just to, get a breath of fresh air. And I sat down on the couch, and I felt a new sensation right off the bat, right when I sat down. I felt this amazing presence come over me, and it felt like this golden angel that merged into my body with me.
Right.
And I felt so expansive and also so small at the same time. It was like this energy inside that it merged in with me was trying to push out and expand, and my physical body was like, whoa, what is this?
Right.
And it was an amazing feeling, but there was energy in there now that it was like it wanted to come out. It wanted to vocalize or do something. It had a message for me. And so as I was having this amazing feeling and in this very deep meditation, just right off the bat, I thought of Esther Hicks' story when she started speaking with Abraham, because I was familiar with that work.
Right.
And so I just went over to my laptop and I opened up a blank Word document, and this presence started to type. And the amazing intensity, love, compassion, just unconditional love. That's the best way I can explain it. Something much more than we can understand. It's an emotion. It's not something that we can understand, and I don't think we have the real concept of unconditional love as human beings because it's so much bigger. So I
mean, not to argue with you, but that's what I do is I have unconditional love for everybody and everything, and I'm not saying that it's the expanse of what you felt, because spirit can put into our body things that we cannot describe.
Yeah.
And we can experience things like that. So I'm saying, but the capacity for the human to love is capable within all of us once we release the fear that exists within us and that we believe to be reality.
Definitely.
Once we can release that, then we're allowed to love each other. I love every single person I come in contact with. I may not like every single one of them, but that's because I'm not supposed to. But I still love them for their journey, and I still love them for who they are.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And that takes a lot to get to that place where you're able to see the oneness and everything. And even when you have differences, you see the larger perspective. And from your higher self, you can love them unconditionally. So
it's amazing,
that you're in that space.
It's amazing that you're only 19 years old. You talk like, over the years I started to get frustrated, and it's like, over those 3 years, and here I am, like, over double your age, and it's like, it's taken me years, literally your age to get to where I'm at, and you've done it in years. So it's just that it makes me feel I'm very proud of you for being able to do what you do and what you can do, and I'm proud of your parents for raising you the way that they did to put this into your path. Because I think that you're...
I wouldn't be here in this place if it weren't for my parents.
Right. I think you're...
given me that space, and so that's amazing. But, and it's funny because people do often, kind of make jokes at me, like when I make comments like that I've been just frustrated for so long, and they go, well,
it goes back lifetimes. It goes back lifetimes with you, though. You're a very old soul.
Yeah, and it does feel like a long journey to me because I feel all of the ages of waiting to get to this point. So to me, it does feel like a long time, and it has felt like a just long, long, long wait to get to.
Like a long, very long journey. I was told by a psychic at a store that I go on all the time. She's actually very, very good at what she does, and she's very good at it. And she told me one day, she said something about how she's like, this is your last time. You're done after this time. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you're not going to be human anymore. And I'm just like, I got like super sad. I'm just like, what are you talking about? This is awesome. I love being human. This is the best thing in the world to experience this. If you're dead in your spirit, how can you experience this? You have to be human in order to experience all the feelings, all the emotions, all the ups, all the downs, all this, all that.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, I have found throughout this whole journey of really me awakening to the whole purpose of being human, what I've been told is that the emotions and feeling that contrast, that polarity, is the point of it. It's the entire point of it, and it's also what makes us feel so small and so in the box, is that we feel like we can't express our true nature with these emotions, and we do feel very three-dimensional a lot of the time. And I know that for me, like when I'm able to tap into that higher source, and then I have to go back and do my day-to-day things, sometimes it can be frustrating. And you feel like, okay, this is fun sometimes, but it's fun to feel more expansive too. And, that's part of the journey. And every time that I feel like that and I'm judging that experience, I look at why I'm judging it, and it's because I think like a human. And I think the biggest thing I've been told is don't think like a human, because then everything else makes sense. And I don't know. I would use your discernment with that message that you got as well, because it's free will. Whenever we want to come back, it's free will. And from that perspective, we want to go back because we see the joy of the experience. And it's beautiful that you can see the joy of the experience while you're human. A lot of people don't.
Right.
A lot of people, say, well, this is it. I'm done with this. That was too hard. But when they reemerge back into that oneness, source energy, they realize, yes, I do want to do it again, because it's what I want to do. It's a fun game, and we know from that perspective, we know what's going to be in our path if it's challenging, and the joys and all of it, and we sign up for it anyway because we see the bigger picture. And that's what I think is amazing, and that's why humanity, there's so much reverence for humanity from spirit, and that has been the biggest thing that has caught me aback. Is in the beginning, I didn't truly understand my relationship with source energy. I think, as many people do, the majority of our society puts God up above us, and we all have different names for God, and we all have different definitions of God. And I don't think I really knew what God was. Until this experience, I didn't really know. I was very confused by it when I was younger because I wasn't grown into a religion. I was confused because a lot of people think God is a singular being up in the sky that judges us for our actions and will give us good things if we do quote-unquote good, and will punish us if we, are sinful. And just that did not sound like God to me. Even from a young age, I didn't believe it. Because we are defining God based on our human perceptions. So we literally...
And the myth of perception.
Exactly. We literally... That's amazing. Okay, that's amazing.
I was actually, sorry to interrupt, but there was a guy on Facebook today that somebody posted something And the guy called him out and said, you better check the Photoshop and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, perception. And he's like, calling me garbage and calling that garbage and all this kind of stuff. And I'm trying to get across to him. I'm like, sir, listen, it doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter whether or not you know that it's a fake. If he perceives it as real, that's his reality. That's real to him. There's nothing you can do about it. It's like telling somebody who believes that the sky is green that they're wrong. I mean, they're going to believe it.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's funny, you said a couple of things that I want to try to remember to get back to. One was Conversations with God. And that book is like, it's kind of funny because I think that had a fair amount, like a bit to do with the formation of how you believe, and because that has a bigger part than I realized of a formation of how I believe. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it wasn't really, let me reiterate that. It wasn't really a formation of how I believe. It was, I was living my life. I had denounced God. I didn't, because I grew up Catholic. I had denounced God. Well, first of all, I got in a car accident. Had a 99.9% mortality rate for my injury. I survived it, went through all these things, did all this stuff, and survived. Fought for my life over and over again, but that's neither here nor there. But I started seeing a therapist. He gave me a book, Conversations with God, and I had denounced God and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, this is bull, and because the Christian God. And then I read that, and I'm like, hey, this makes a lot of sense. This is how I'm living my life anyhow. And so there were so many things that were like correlating between the two that I started to like highlight parts of the book. And the book is like half highlighted and half written in and stuff because I took notes on it and all that kind of stuff. But then I read the second book and the third book, but it was always the first book that did the most for me. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I guess that's just it. It's, because listening to you is like, hey, that's how I think. Hey, you're like, it's like you're taking words out of my mouth. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, and I think that is that was my intention as I went into this, as I connected with you. Is we tap into this source so that we can be on the same wavelength and yep. Be right on together. So, yeah, and I think a book like Conversations with God and a book like mine, they're similar in the way that they grow with you and right. They help you where you're at. And so it sounds like in many ways your spirit was validating some of those things, and part of you was like, just, take a step back but still be interested, yep. But not fully commit. And that's kind of how we work as humans. We kind of test the waters, right. And when we feel like it's safe enough, then we will step a little bit more out. And the more we step out, the more feedback we get and the more connection we get, and it gets stronger until we come to realize our true nature. And right. So it's a little step at a time, and like you said, it's about perception, and we have all of these veils as human beings. We have all of these veils, and every time we step forward a little bit and ask to be more in the light and are consciously, looking for that evolution and growth and self-enlightenment, one of those veils comes off. And right. I use the analogy of like a tissue paper. Like if you hold up a tissue to the light, you can see through it, but you can't go through it. There's this perception that it's solid. Right. But you can see through it, and if you poke a hole through it, if you get close enough, you realize that you can poke a hole through it, and then you can see clearly to the other side. Right. And I think that's a metaphor for not just reaching God or source energy, but finding just our true self, like who we are. And we have all these perceptions of who we are, and all of that gets in the way of us seeing our truth. And it really doesn't matter, you don't need to control everybody's truth. You don't have to worry about that. It's just about what are we seeking? What evolution are we seeking in our personal lives? And how do you get there? So for me, this whole journey has been enlightening to the fact that, I don't need to convince people that this is the way. I don't need to convince people of anything because,
right.
and that's taken a lot to get to that place where I can be okay with it. I know that it's impacted my life, and when I hand the book to another person, I say, okay, this is your journey. You use your discernment. You will have a completely different journey than mine, and what you get from it will be completely different than what I got from it. So it's a very personal relationship, and I think for everyone that picks it up, they will realize that because the words speak to them. They speak directly to them. And I've been told that it really is an alive book and that no matter how many years go by, it's going to be timeless. The information will be timeless. And,
right.
If you have intention, a real heartfelt intention to connect to that energy yourself and to open up more to your own potential and find that connection with your divine nature, you will find that. And
right.
So it's really all on that foundation.
Right. I look at it kind of as I look at it as everybody finds their own and speaks their own inner truth. What's true for me isn't true for you, and what's true for you isn't necessarily going to be true for the person driving down the street.
Right. And there's no right or wrong. It just is.
It's your journey. It's as singular as your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just there's nobody who can tell you that your journey is wrong. They don't have to walk in your shoes and
right.
all that. So. And
that's my intention as I share this with people and as I continue to do interviews too. Is I don't want it to be only for spiritual people, or only for people that are interested in metaphysics. I want it to be for all people. And for me, that's, kind of a big deal to be, quote unquote spiritual, but also reach everyone and be universal in that way. And that's my goal.
You know that you can reach everybody, technically.
Mm-hmm.
And
I do.
I'm the same way. It's that for years, I couldn't. It's taken me 20 years to write what I have written, and I didn't know anything about writing when I started, and I didn't know how to put my message out there to people because I didn't know who my audience was, because everybody could be affected by what I had to say, whether they believed it or not. They would get a message from it.
Mm-hmm. It holds
and so
it holds vibration and then speaks to those people in whatever way they need to hear it.
Right. It sounds more like, as opposed to you and I being accurate or I'm being, while you and I look the same, it's more like you and I are in tune with spirit. Because, that's the way, honestly, I don't live my life based on my decisions. I live my life based on what spirit wants me to do. Mm-hmm. And that's where I am. The other day something totally told me, I live in Florida, and something totally told me to go to Clearwater, Florida. So I went there, which is a half hour, 40 minutes away from my house. And then I saw this woman, and she was just beautiful. And she waved to me and smiled, and I started going on my way, and something told me to go back, and so I went back, and I ended up finding her, and she's like, I'm standing there talking to her for a minute, and then she hugged me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you. And she's like, I love you. And then we went on. I have no idea. None. No clue about any of it, but I did it. And I'm not scared to do it. And that's the way everybody should be. You were talking earlier about the emotions and all this stuff, and that, I truly, because I was in a very, very depressed state after my accident. I was a very miserable person. I didn't see my purpose. I didn't know a purpose. I didn't even think I was even close to having one. And I ended up, okay. And I ended up figuring out where I was so, why I was so negative, why I was so fearful, why all that kind of stuff. And we're about to head into a break, so we'll leave it on that. We'll leave that topic and maybe pick it back up after the break. But is there any way that any people can get a hold of you or anything, Courtney?
Yeah. My website is teachingsfromgod.com, and on my website you can find all the links to my social media pages and my blog and all of that fun stuff. So it's really resourceful. You can find it easily, and I respond to everyone. So that's
easy to get through and stuff.
Yes.
Easy to figure out.
Yep.
Not everybody's tech savvy. So
you just click on the little icon right there. So
beautiful. My mom and dad can figure it out.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Well, I guess that will take us to our break.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nothing human can be alien to me. If you can internalize the least portion of that.
Welcome to the Inner Lives Talkies, proliferation of Black cinema podcast.
You will never be able to say of an act, a criminal act, or I couldn't do that.
Each week we take a look at the history, present, and future of global Black cinema. Each one of us will have a moment in life that propels us to journey into promoting change in the landscape of the world. Our energies are being used to encourage and create the sharing of resources and ideals between Black filmmakers around the globe. We find the culture of Black persons around the world to be undervalued and invisible in countries with significant Black populations. This disregard for the talents of Black people has to be changed through the efforts of building the arts through our collective dedication and efforts. We're excited to create a link particularly between African American film industries and that of the larger African and African diaspora. The proliferation of Black cinema means richer and healthier film industries internationally, inclusive of the dynamic, spiritual, and diverse people of and from Africa. Join us in addition to this to hear our journey as we shoot our first feature film entitled Getachew, set in Ethiopia. A joint effort between the filmmakers Getachew Yanzingao, Maikim Tidang, Tedros Hagos, Stephen Carlton Boone, and Yanekachu Shimedi. Thank you and enjoy.
Homo sum internalized. Homo sum humani nihila mea leelum puto. I am a human being. Nothing human can be alien to me. That's one thing I'm learning.
A mindfulness radio production only on RealRevolutionRadio.com.
Finding the love of your life can not only be a challenge, but also a task that for some will never be accomplished. But why? Is it you? Is it him? Family? Friends? In the book, The 7 Principles for Allowing the Man of Your Dreams to Find You, author and writer Charlotte Johnson uncovers areas in interpersonal relationships defined by the collection of past experiences of women and men, including her own, that every woman seeking love should follow to allow the man of their dreams to find them and not the other way around. Understanding these 7 principles can be the difference in finding that lasting bond between the sexes and being alone with internal regret. Readers from around the world are giving this book rave reviews, calling it a masterful guide to finding love. Get your copy of The 7 Principles for Allowing the Man of Your Dreams to Find You by author Charlotte Johnson today through online book retailer Lulu.com or at www.bkmkpublishing.com. The 7 Principles for Allowing the Man of Your Dreams to Find You. Pick up your copy today.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised, but heard instead, dear listeners, through podcast radio on RealRevolutionRadio.com. Never before has inspirational podcast radio been taken to this next level of wow. Until now. Today, in the age of information, more and more people are searching for answers and in solutions and how to better approach and perceive every day-to-day concerns by tuning in to RealRevolutionRadio.com. Isn't it about time we take back our lives, back in consciousness, in a higher state of awareness, in the evolution of our own state of higher well-being? Yes, we can do so consciously every day by tuning in to the many groundbreaking and third eye-opening podcasts. Our new Cleveland-based network of over 33 paradigm-shifting internet talk shows. Only on RealRevolutionRadio.com. Be part of that change. Evolve. Be inspired.
Hi, welcome back. This is Joe Burgess, author of The Myth of Perception, available on Kindle. I'm with author Courtney Amundson, and she's the author of the book Teachings of God. Welcome back, Courtney.
We're having a good conversation.
Definitely. We were talking a little bit about how I had removed emotion and all that from my life. What it was in myself, I had identified life as love and fear. And anything that was not love, see, I looked at nature as love. Animals are love. Even when they're hunting, they're not doing it for a selfish or egotistical reason. They're doing it to survive. They're trying to live. So that means that love has some bad in it, has some negative in it, meaning a loss of life or prey or something like that. And this was the truth that I kind of accepted. And so in order to do that, I had to remove my judgment. So, like you were talking earlier about judgment, and that was like really cool because that's what people do too much. They judge everything. Any separation, and they're judging it. So, it's wonderful that you don't live that way, is in the separation that society lives in. When you were a kid, what was your childhood like?
Yeah. Well, first off, I just want to say, I am human too. And, though in many ways, and as I was writing this book, I did experience oneness, and I did experience that pure source energy. But when I'm not in that space, I'm very human, and I do experience separation, and I do experience suffering, and I'm very empathic too. So
right,
and very aware. So those things, they're positive in the sense that I can tap into it very easily.
Mm-hmm.
But it does get me down. So it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Right.
And curse, I say, in the best way, kind of an expression. But
right.
no, but anyways, my childhood, I've had a lot of growth. Let's put it that way. I've had a lot of growth. And when I look back at my childhood, I think, wow, I'm a completely different person. I was very introverted. I'm still very introverted, but, for example, my mom, I had my first interview recently, and my mom listened to it, and she said she just started cracking up because she said, I can't believe that was you talking. It just, my personality has changed so much. I've come to meet this new side of myself, to be a teacher and a leader, and I had a very difficult time in school just speaking up I was a little bit more sensitive, so I wanted to be treated with,
Right.
that same kind of respect and sensitivity. And so I went to a Waldorf school first, and that was very nurturing and also a big growth experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot of lessons in that school, and then I moved on to a public school, and that was very different. And that was challenging in its ways too, where I had to start realizing that there were expectations, and the majority of people there were very focused on the end result. You need to get good grades so that you can go to college, so that you can get a job, so that you can succeed in life. And it was like this endless list of to-dos, and to me, none of it really made sense. It didn't connect because I didn't get what was the purpose of it if you're not going to be happy about it. And I wasn't seeing any, subjects on my day-to-day, schedule that I was really interested in. And, now I see all of those experiences as positive. But then it was very frustrating to me and very stressful.
Right.
And I didn't understand why am I here?
Right.
If I really want to study something else, and my personality is very motivated by my passions. When I do have a passion, I go 100% for it, and I will study hard, and I will do everything I need to do to get there.
I can see that in you.
Yeah, and that's just the way I work and I function.
Right.
So I knew that if I were to be put in an environment that allowed me to do that, I would succeed. But that's not how it all works. That's not how being human works. We have to do certain things to get those experiences. So anyway, then I moved on to a charter school, and that really pushed me a lot. And then I realized, I needed to be more independent, and I could work better alone. So.
And how old were you at this point?
So then I moved to online school.
How old were you at that point?
I was.
Since I just learned that you're 20 now and not 19, I apologize about that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, I was 14 when I switched, and it was a very freeing thing for me. I felt like I could redefine myself and not feel so in the box by what other people wanted me to be. And I started being what other people wanted me to be because I didn't see another way. I really just didn't see another way. And being young, you feel very victimized by life. You feel that, already you're young, so you depend on people that are older than you.
Right.
For guidance and support. And if you're not getting that from those people, then you feel very lost. And so it makes sense that in adolescent years, there's a lot of turmoil. And, I don't feel like I had that the same as most teenagers do, but I definitely went through a growth period and a redefining myself sort of period. And, it served a lot for me. And I have a lot more understanding of the point of this experience, and that I didn't have to believe everyone that was telling me that this is the only way, and that there was no other way outside of that. So I followed my instincts and I followed my heart the entire time, and I'm lucky that I have parents that saw the purpose of that and didn't just focus on grades or getting to college and getting a degree. There wasn't that fear. There wasn't that fear of failure if I didn't do that.
I love your soul and your journey, my sister. You are like inspiration. You're young, and the only reason I say keep bringing up the fact of how young you are is because it's inspirational. when I'm thinking when I was your age, there, like the stuff that you're talking about, like, yeah, they called it ADD, you know. And when I was in second grade, I had like extreme ADD. And actually what all it was I had so much energy, I had so much like flowing through me that I could not contain myself. That's all it was. It wasn't a problem, but my teacher tied me into my chair when I was in second grade because I kept getting up and walk around the classroom.
Wow.
My parents got called into the principal's office, and my dad was like, "Good."
That hurts. It does, and
I've never
don't get it. You're like, this is just who I am.
When I was a kid, I didn't feel. I mean, I never felt I never had the ability to speak my truth because my truth was handed to me.
Right.
Because I was raised in a Christian belief structure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I don't know, it just is what it is. I'm just so thankful that you are who you are and you are where you are because you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And I love you for that. That's awesome. You're like an awesome person.
It's very freeing, and I have not, missed out on those struggles either. I mean, I've gone through a lot to get to where I am, even despite, being 20. It seems like I've been, searching my entire life, even at a really young age.
That goes back to where you're just an old soul.
Yeah, I mean,
and we're all that past lives, I mean, that you were talking about that, and that's something that I'm very intrigued with. Because I've relived moments in my past in my mind that were so real to me that you couldn't deny it. And so, I've just had many, many reincarnation moments, and when I see people that are in the regalia or the era clothing and stuff a lot of times, and that's just in my mind. And so, what am I, crazy? It's my reality, So, it's odd, but it's justifiable in my mind, but.
Yeah, for people that are more aware and more in tune with the subtle realms, it can be hard to see and understand things that other people can't see and understand. Right. And I understand that, and what you were talking about with ADD, and I was thinking about how Doreen Virtue talks about ADHD, and she defines it as attention dialed into a higher dimension. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that, it was like, oh man, if every kid could know that at a young age and not feel like there's something wrong with them, or really anyone, it doesn't even have to be a kid, but I think more as kids, you feel so just victimized a lot of times. A lot of things don't make sense. A lot of things don't add up. And when adults are telling you there's something wrong with you, or they don't understand you, or don't know how to nurture you, and nurture your gifts and see it as a gift, and not that you're sick or something, that can really help them to blossom and to open up their gifts. So I think in many ways that could help a lot of children. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also a big goal of mine, is to be able to really connect with a lot of people that are in my generation. My goal is to reach all ages, but especially in my generation, because, I think this type of work is often seen, as for like middle-aged women or something. There's this sort of like, oh, that's just for, the weirdos. That's just for the ultra spiritual. And I want to just completely eliminate that, because the information can be used for everyone.
You want to bring it in mainstream.
Yeah, especially for people that are feeling so lost in life.
I feel
a lot of answers. Gives you a lot of clarity on yourself, and that's what we all need.
Exactly. I agree 100%. You and I are like right on focus. We have pretty much the same. I mean, seriously, everything that you've been talking about, everything that you've been saying is stuff that I wanted to do. I just never knew how to do any of this stuff that I wanted to do, and now I'm beginning to make the connections and learn from my wonderful producer Joel and the owner of Real Revolution Radio. I'm finally making the connections. Not taking anything away from you and your connections, because we all need connections, and we all need people, and that's. People think that they can do it on their own, but they can't. They need people. We need people. And I wish people could understand that. And rather than thinking that they can either do it by themselves or they don't need to help somebody because they're not going to get anything out of it, or that's where karma comes in. I mean, regardless of...
I think we're just putting our blinders on, though, when we say that. I mean, you can't really believe that at your core, I don't think, because our human nature and instinct is to connect with people that are on a similar vibration as us, even if it's unconscious. Right. We do it.
Yeah.
So, whether, you believe, let me put it this way. We do it in politics. We do it in religion. And we will bond with people that believe what we believe.
Right.
And that validates our perception of our life and ourselves. That validates something. And then once you find those people, you go, okay, I got it. They believe it too. The mass majority believes this, which means it is absolute, and I don't need to look outside anymore. I can just put my blinders on, put my head in the sand, and just cruise.
I look at that as justification. You said validation. I look at it as justification to, continue. I have all these little niche words that they're niche words. They're just, they're very specific words for something like justification and like perceive and like accept and deny and all that kind of stuff that I've come across in my life that kind of popped out to me. And I feel like Spirit has made it easier for me to connect to everybody with the words that I use, because it makes it easy for everybody to understand.
Right.
That's probably a reason why there's a reason why you and I are having this interview, because I don't know, but man, I've had so much fun doing this. Seriously, not just you, but my last guest, which was Joel, and my guest before that, which was Christine. I love talking to you people. I love this. I love talking to like-minded people who are just as beautiful as me. It's awesome.
Yeah, and that's, as you said, that's the beauty of it, is that it's exponential, and as you share like that, you are reaching so many people all at the same time, and it becomes a timeless thing. And being that it will be recorded and people can listen to it any time, it's, that's amazing to me that we have the technology to do that. And like a physical book, we can reference back to it, and every time you listen and every time, you come back to it, you will get something new out of it. And it shows your growth. It shows how you have, how you've integrated, these concepts over time. And I've seen that for myself as I've just, I self-published this book. I did it all on my own. So right down to the cover stuff and all of the formatting inside. My mom helped me with it, and so I was very in touch with the entire thing, and just going through it over and over and over and over again, you start to realize, oh my gosh, I wrote this and I read it a million times and I still don't get a lot of this. And that's just how it works. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's how channeling works. Yeah, it's the same thing when I have I talk to people, and there's actually a couple. Like my book is more or less a collection of stories, and I think at least two of my stories, I passed a message on to somebody, and they got the message, but I have no idea what it was. And I just simply say it's because it wasn't for me. You know, if it were for me, I would remember it, obviously, but I don't remember, so it wasn't for me. And it was. I mean, they were all things that were a message for somebody. But one instance was a woman was having a procedure, an elderly woman was having a procedure, and I walked over to her in the waiting room, and I'm like, everything is going to be fine. You're totally safe. They're with you. And she went back with her daughter, and then her daughter came back out, and a couple minutes later, she's like, I don't know what you said to my mom, but she called you her guardian angel, so thank you very much, because she's been worried about this for the last couple of weeks. And she's been calling me every day. And so it's just things like that. I don't remember what I said to her, but I don't need to, because it was the message that was the most important thing. You know, and it's just things like that it makes, I don't know, those are like the serendipity moments. They're like a miracle happening in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. That's how I look at serendipity. It's like the other day when I met that woman. That was a serendipitous moment to me. It's a moment of pure love.
Yeah, and I think for people like you and I that are so connected in that way, where the channel's open and Spirit can use us as a messenger, as a conduit. Right.
I just put that word in your mind. How cool is that? All right, sorry.
So that's exactly what happens is we align to that source energy, and then we get out of the way, and that was my intention as I came in too, and there's been evidence of that where I have some words that I don't normally say, and the conversation is different than I had really anticipated. So it's interesting how that happens, and it can happen in day-to-day life too, where you meet somebody and then something comes out your mouth and you go, where did that come from? Yep. And it impacts them, but you don't know that. You don't know what you're really giving them until you see their reaction. But I've experienced that so many times.
That's cool.
As I do readings for other people, one-on-one. And
okay.
So,
yeah,
it's amazing.
Cool. Where are you located at?
I'm in Stillwater, Minnesota.
Stillwater, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Minnesota, eh?
Mhm.
Minnesota.
I know, but
oh my goodness! Every time I think of Minnesota, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so chilly. Because I just think of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and I know how cold that was. So, how much snow do you get on average where you live?
We get a lot. I don't even know on average, but right now we haven't had too much snow, but it's been very, very cold. We've had a little bit of a warm-up, but one thing that we like to do here, we like to skate. We have a pond in our backyard, and so my family, we like to play hockey and stuff. I'm sure people wouldn't anticipate that from what you've heard in this interview so far, but I can play hockey. So
right on.
Uh-huh.
Cool, very cool. You're a rough and tough chick, huh?
Uh-huh.
I'm a badass.
That's it, but it's true.
Right on, very cool. So what are some of your plans for the future? What are you thinking about doing and helping people?
Yeah, I would love to travel. I think the biggest thing for me is I know that this work is going to be beyond just, sitting at my home and getting on the laptop and, connecting with people worldwide like that. It's not personal enough for me. I think the real transformation happens when I'm able to connect with people one-on-one, and I don't want to be a distant figure. I don't want to be, somebody that you email and, and then you have to go through 10 assistants, blah, blah, blah. I don't want it to be like that.
Right. You want to make yourself accessible.
Yeah, I want to actually be there for people and to be a real guide and not to just be, somebody that talks at other people and tries to teach other people, because that further really puts into people's heads that I am above them and I know more than them. And that's human nature. When we see somebody like that, we bow down to them.
Right.
And especially if it resonates with you, automatically you're going to go, you're so awesome. I want to dedicate my time to listening to you and teach me your ways. I've done it. I've done it too. But the biggest aha moment for me was realizing that that was completely false.
Right.
And the more that I do that to other people, and the more that I make up definitions for God and not experience my true power and wisdom, then the more I'm thinking and being like a human, and I'm less connected. So that's how the wisdom came through to me. And
right.
And that's what I want to help other people see. I don't want to teach them what they don't already know. I want them to organically find it and then be empowered and not just sign over their power to me, because that's not what I want.
Right.
And I don't think I could deal with that even.
Yeah. Why would you want to? I mean, to me, it's my journey is I get the most benefit from seeing people get it on their own. I don't like to tell people anything. I'm very, I guess, Edgar Casey and very Leonardo da Vinci in my approach. That I don't like to leave things to like you read what you get, but you have to think about it. You know, you were talking earlier about reading things over and over and getting something. I often refer to the movie The Matrix with that, because I watched that movie 3 times in a row the first time I ever watched it, because every single time I watched it, I saw something different. So it's just, I don't know, I'm not really, that was something that just popped into my mind, but it's just, I don't know, people, they need to discover it on their own. You know, it's their own truth. My dad, for instance, when I first moved to Florida, when he lived in Florida, I moved to Florida from Michigan. And when I first got down here, we didn't get along. He just didn't care. He was really rude to me and all this kind of stuff. And not that he was being mean, he was just scared of me. He didn't know me. He didn't know what I was about. Because I talked about weird stuff, this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so he didn't know how to accept me. But then after I started subtly dropping all these messages and I love you, Dad, for no reason and stuff like that, then he began to open up to it. Now we have a wonderful relationship, and I've never had a relationship with my dad like this. We sit and we talk and stuff like that. And my mom has even thanked me for being that way, because it changed how he was treating her. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, but if you ask him, it was all him. I didn't have anything to do with how he was, because it like you were talking about earlier about how people, it's the cognitive dissonance or the self-righteousness that a lot of people have. You know, it's like self-righteousness it has a lot to do with pride and honor in your beliefs. You know, but just because we have pride and honor in our beliefs, it doesn't mean that we're the only ones who are walking this planet. You know, we're all walking a different journey. We're all, that's where we have to have respect. You know.
Exactly.
And I learned about this because years ago, the word "but." When you say the word "but," you're negating whatever was said before you, saying that what you have to say is more important, essentially. And so that's where I learned about self-righteousness and all that kind of stuff. But that's a whole other topic that we don't even need to go into. This has been a wonderful interview. I have loved talking to you. You are a wonderful, wonderful young woman. I honor you and I respect you for all the work you have done and are trying to do and will do. See great things in your future. Especially after talking to me. I'm just joking. So I guess since we're wrapping it up, is there anything that you would like to say in closing?
Yeah, it has been a amazing conversation, and I hope that listeners can feel what has gone on in this little interaction. I probably won't even remember what I said in a few minutes, because that's just how it often goes. You know, you're in this space of synchronicity, and I guess in closing, I would say, you know, if what I'm talking about, if my energy resonates with you, I'd love to connect, and I hope that my book touches many people, and I hope that they can find their true, authentic voice, and that's what I wish for everyone, is that they can find their own path, their own true voice, and that's where true empowerment comes from. That's when we can be free, and that's what we all desire on an unconscious level, is to be free. So I also want to say in closing that I'm going to be starting an online book club. So if you join my mailing list on my website, it's right on the homepage. If you subscribe there, I'm going to be starting an online book club, and that's be really fun, because it's going to allow us to have a real-time conversation, and I think it's going to be a YouTube live event. So we'll see. It'll be communicate, talk about the book.
What was your website again?
Teachingsfromgod.com.
Teachingsfromgod.com. Beautiful, beautiful. I guess that's it for you. And to wrap up the show, thank you once again for experiencing the misperception and perceiving what other people in this world perceive that might not be the same with you. I welcome you back next week for another wonderful guest. And I guess that's it for this week. Joe Burgess signing off. Have a good day.